The, the invisible horror of The Shining. Advice, don't watch the sequel. It's pretty bad.
I watch The Shining every few years, and each time I find Kubrick has somehow remade it in my absence. It's a rare film that truly rewards repeat viewings because it has so much to offer. You ask 5 people about The Shining and you'll get 15 interpretations.
No, seriously,
maybe that's why
you
people
should
can't seem
really
to
try
show up.
Outer Wilds. I don't know if it's been said already, but you should notice Outer Wilds, Outer Worlds, not yes. BTW, if you not try Rimworld, it's also space.
Play the fucking game!
Also no more links.
I already played Rimworld.
About this movie. Even after 40 years, there's still things to discover tucked away in the halls of the Overlook Hotel. Every peek around a corner leads to a surfeit of hidden details, and I find myself once again falling into a rabbit hole of obsession.
Okay, let's talk.
The latest of which has been The Shining's use of music and its sinister relationship with motion. Watch the mouth, and watch the hand.
What do you want to talk about?
Alright, Jack, let's talk about an old, early animation technique called Mickey Mousing, and explore how it's used in The Shining to illuminate a presence unseen. Now, you're definitely familiar with this technique. It gets its name from the late 20s Mickey Mouse shorts, but it's what we call any motion, animated or otherwise, that has parallel, synchronized music to accompany it. Like here in Mickey's Haunted House, or you can see a live-action application of it here in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film. Now, today this is seen as a bit of a cliche, and it's mostly fallen out of fashion in modern filmmaking due to its overuse in the early days and its connotation with slapstick comedy. And The Shining is a darkly comedic film in places, in its own Stanley Kubrick sort of way. But Kubrick, together with a man named Gordon Stainforth, who's the music editor for The Shining, chose to use this outdated musical synchronization technique to elicit a sense of horror instead of humor. So rather than using it to solely underline an action like those early cartoons, it's instead used to illustrate the growing, invisible, corruptive influence of the Overlook Hotel. An influence we can hear every time Jack pitches a ball, or pitches a fit, or angrily tears a page from his script. Traces of that unseen corrupting force are everywhere, manipulating the scene from above like a malevolent marionettist, twisting Jack into its own instrument of havoc. You can't quite see the strings being pulled, but you sure can hear them. Music is a powerful presence in The Shining, but there's one piece in particular that's used almost as an avatar for the evils of the Overlook. And it's through that song that the horror becomes alive and tangible. What you're hearing is Bela Bartok's music for strings, percussion, and celesta, and it can be found sprinkled all throughout The Shining. But the third movement of this piece, the Adagio, is most prominent in these 3 scenes, and the degree to which it dominates these scenes intensifies as the Overlook's grasp tightens on the Torrance family. The first time we hear it is in the maze. Jack looms above with a cold gaze, observing his family like toys in this diorama waiting to be played with. Then mirrored by Bartok's sinister melody suggesting...
Is this in the movie? I don't remember this. No?
A similar gaze overlooking Jack with the same intent. A twisted reflection that not only complements the symmetry of the labyrinth itself, but also the music this evil has manifested itself as. Because just like the hedge maze, this music was designed with symmetry in mind. Bartok famously structured this composition to be a palindrome, with the architecture of the piece having an A, B, C, D, C, B, A arrangement, where each moment begins as it ends, which makes it perfectly suited for The Shining, both thematically...
Show me!
Show me.
Show me.
Show me. Show me.
Show me.
Soul.
Show me.
Show me.
Show me.
Show me.
Show me.
Show me.
And visually, given its abundant use of symmetrical iconography, such as twins, mirrors, and patterns. The next time we hear Bartok is just a few scenes later at the door. Only a whisper at first. The room calling out to him as he rolls past. And with the string of that violin cast out like the line of a fishing rod, room 237 has its hooks in. Danny's curiosity is caught, and this is where that Mickey Mousing really starts to reveal itself. Music editor Gordon Stainforth aligned this cue so that every movement Danny makes from this point would have a corresponding note. Listen close and watch each turn of Danny's head and his steps leading up to the door.
Ever heard of Utter Weeks? No, not Utter Wells. I think he's locked up in prison. I'm talking Utter Weeks. It's like a 2 billion-year-old RPG stone. Also, Forsen, I was wondering if you have thought any more about the...
About what?
Stainforth said he wanted to use music as a manifestation of fate, a doomsday of judgment coming ever closer, he says. With traditional Mickey Mousing, syncing music to action or vice versa, there's a restrictive nature to that technique. Ultimately, one's going to dictate the other. But The Shining is unique in that all the laying of the music tracks was undertaken after the final cut of the film was established. None of the scenes were choreographed to the music. They were all in fact...
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it must be really hard to choreograph the music perfectly with a fucking 8-year-old actor. Like, what?
rehearsed with completely different music played on set.
Keep it low, come on. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Keep coming.
Hello, Mr. Force. I am a little bit confused.
Even
So
though it
please
appears Jack is
clarify.
instead...
Which game are you planning to play? Is it the Utter Wells or Utter Wilds? I love both of the games, so I don't want to miss it. Thank you for clearing this up.
Whichever you fucking want, man.
step with the tune and
Just
the ballroom.
find the fucking
music
ball.
you're hearing is not the same music he is. Here's what it would have sounded like on the day. It adds an extra layer of real-world eeriness that Jack is dancing along to music we aren't privy to. Like he's lost in his own world that's only coincidentally in sync with ours. But the strangest occurrence of synchronization is found in the third and final use of Bartok's piece, and that's with the talk between Jack and Danny in the apartment. So this is probably my favorite scene in The Shining. I think narratively it's the most important, and it's the most technically impressive scene in the film from a music editing perspective. This is also where that Mickey Mouse sing... Huh. Would you look at that? Anyway, this is also where that Mickey Mousing is at its most conspicuous, and it's deceptively simple. It's two characters sitting on a bed talking in a single, flat, unbroken two-shot. Now, before we take a look at the scene,
Hello,
let's break down the
Forsen.
material.
You're here once again. Have you heard about the game called Minecraft? It's a fun sandbox game that has a lot of content. It recently got an update that introduces an expansive cave system and very impressive cliff biomes. Go play it.
So I've heard, but we're forgetting that I'm still the champion, so... you know.
The shot lasts 2 full minutes, nearly to the frame, in a single, unbroken take, so no coverage to hide behind. And the music used is a pre-existing composition that was chosen after the edit had already been locked. And we'll get to why that's special in just a minute. But essentially that means no coverage, no cuts, and no changes. But even with those limitations, Stainforth was still able to structure the edit of the music to seem like it was influencing the conversation between Jack and Danny. You can hear how rising or falling inflections in dialogue are met with a mirrored musical intonation, like with the violin glissando that creates this sort of double conversation, where there's a rise in the melody for each question and a fall for each answer. And this is what it looks like.
Dad? Do you like this hotel?
Forsen,
I
I
love
have
this bit right
something
here
to
where the melody
ask you.
seems to answer.
Today I got a vasectomy, so my balls really hurt. I was wondering if you could turn off your face cam for this stream. Ever since you shaved, I can't watch stream without getting an erection. And don't play that shit game.
I don't know, just fucking put a post-it note.
For Jack before
I'll
he
warn
can
you
form
3
a
seconds before I switch cam location, alright?
response himself.
I do. I love it. Don't you?
You really get the